Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today I am going to be installing an upgraded oil pressure relief spring in the oil pump of my 890 Adventure. I think it's pretty well settled science at this time that the LC8 motor does have a flaw in the design when it comes to oiling internally in the motor, right? It's an otherwise almost perfect engine, and coupled with an otherwise almost perfect adventure bike, right? So this is a spring from Clean Speed. It is about 1.5 bars stiffer than the spring that comes OEM in the bike, all right? I think I paid $15 with shipping for this spring, so it's well worth the investment if you ask me. It's not really that hard to do, but there are a lot of things you have to do in order to access it, right? So I'm going to have to move the radiator out of the way. I'm going to have to unbolt the headers. I'm going to have to drop the oil sump cover and then reinstall the spring. So it does take a little bit of time, but it's really, again, worth the effort to put this little spring in here. Know that my longevity of my motor is going to be there for me, all right? So the first thing I got to do is drain the oil. I'm going to do that and I will get right back with you. So the first thing I did was I removed the front fender. Now I've taken the seat off. I'm going to remove the side plastic and this front right fairing so that I can get to the overflow tank on the radiator and kind of move it out the way. Man, I feel like I've had all these plastics apart so many times. I am super glad that KTM designed it to come apart so easily. Now, in order to get this plastic fan shroud off, you have to remove this upper portion here that houses the coolant overflow tank. And in order to do that, you're going to have to remove the windscreen. So we'll just take this off real fast. Luckily, it also comes off really easily. All right, so now that we've got the windscreen removed, we can start removing these. I think there's 4 bolts here that hold this little side fairing on. 1, 2. Sorry, there's actually 3, not 4. There's these 2 up top. And then there's 1 right under here. This long T-handle was not the best option, but that's all right. All right. Okay, so in order to pull this off, you gotta take your overflow cap off. And this will just release. Try not to stab yourself like I just did. So moving on to the other side, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to pull off the back piece and remove the left side fairing. Set it aside. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is we have to remove the plastic fan shroud that's surrounding the radiator so that we can get that loosened up out of the way. And the way we're going to do that is by unhooking the overflow tank and kind of moving it out of the way. We're going to remove this little plastic screw here, this retainer screw here, and then I hope you can see there's a screw here and right here. So let's get those removed. And these are T30s. All right, then we'll remove this retainer screw that's holding in the overflow tank, and this little plastic screw here, which is a T20. So the overflow tank here is held in by this retaining screw, and then there's just a little rubber stopper thing here. You're just going to pull it out. It'll pop right off. Kind of move this out of the way. Okay, we're just going to kind of let it hang there for right now as we continue to remove the shroud, the plastic shroud from the radiator. And then we're going to repeat the process of removing the bolts on this side. The same thing. You have the bolt here, you have the bolt up underneath here. And the little self-tapping plastic screw right here. The only difference is on this side, you don't have the retainer bolt that holds in the overflow tank. Okay, now the way this bottom piece here, this plastic shroud comes off, is you have a little tab here. So you're just gonna kind of pop that tab up out of the way, and it hooks onto this little piece here. And you just kind of pop it up and pull down. And the same thing goes for this side here. Just kind of pop it up, get it loose, wiggle it down and away from the bike, and it comes out. All right, now that we've got all of that taken off, the next thing we need to do is remove this plastic shroud right here. So at the bottom, there's a couple of little keeper slots. Hopefully you can see this here. All right, so what you're gonna do is just kind of push up and out of the way. Get my hand in here. All right, on both sides, just push it up, out of the way. Get those little keeper pins unseated, pull forward. And then there's a little screw right here, another T30, okay? Hopefully I can get the camera in here to where I can see it and also turn the wrench. Not too bad. So that's where that's at. Oh, sorry, there's two of them. I missed that one. There's another one right there. I'll go ahead and remove that and get right back to you. All right, the next thing we have to do is remove this bracket that holds the skid plate and the bypass or the crossover fuel lines, okay? And to do that, we're going to remove this bolt here, and then there's another one on the other side, which I'll show you in just a second. Now I have my crossover line zip tied to the bracket, so I may just leave it zip tied and let the bracket hang, or you can just remove the bracket completely out of the way. All right, the next thing we're going to do is remove the lower radiator mount bolts. And what this is going to do, eventually, once we're done, it will allow us to move the radiator forward in order to get to the header bolts. All right, that's that. Okay, here's the left side. And now you can see the radiator is movable. All right, so I have positioned a chunk of plywood in between the mount, the mounting tab for the radiator. So now these are 14 millimeter bolts, and they come undone pretty easily, or they should. Once you can get the universal socket on there correctly. And what I'm going to do now is remove these bolts that are holding the oil sump pan on. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, I think, on the sides. And then there are 2 in the finned portion of this as well. And we're going to remove those and drop the oil pan. So when I'm removing these bolts, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of loosen them a little bit so that I don't warp anything, right? Just give it a little turn, and I'm going to skip every other bolt. Just 2 turns on each one. Now that I've got them cracked, I'll go around and finish up doing every other bolt. All right, so here's what the inside of your oil sump looks like. This is your oil filter screen that is attached to your drain plug, and then your sump cover. Under there is the oil filter. This all looks really good. I don't see any metal parts at all, any metal shavings, anything like that in there. So really happy about that. It looks super good. What I'm going to do now is clean it up, take the gasket off, and then we'll get to replacing that spring. Okay, guys, so here is your oil pump here. All right. And the spring resides right inside of this orifice here. I hope you can see it. And there's a little keeper in there that we have to get out, which we're going to do right now. Okay, so the best way I have found to get this keeper out is to get a pick, push down or push in on the keeper, and pry it downward. Okay, so hopefully you can see right here where this little round, looks like a washer, is just kind of sticking out a little ways. You just got to push it in, detent it a little bit, and push it straight down. And then pull it the rest of the way out, and the spring will come out. So I'm going to get a pair of needle nose and pull that out and grab the spring. All right, guys. Well, I'm sorry. I really couldn't get a good view under there of that whole process. But so this is the factory spring that I pulled out, and this is the new clean speed spring. So you can see how much longer it is, and the pressure that it takes is much greater to compress it. All right. So basically, this spring, because it's shorter and has less bar pressure, it's allowing the relief valve to, so it's not building enough oil pressure. This is going to create a whole lot more oil pressure before it allows the pump to start bypassing and releasing some of that pressure. Okay. Anyways, that's really all there is to it. And the only thing left to do now is to put this new clean speed spring back in there and put everything back together. Now, one thing I want to say about I've seen videos where people are using gasket sealant on the sump pump. Sorry, on the sump pan gasket. According to KTM, you should not be using any sealant whatsoever. If you do need some, if you have some scratches in the surface, you want to use, like they say, a microscopic film, basically just to fill in those little tiny scratches so you're not getting any oil leaks. But you're not using it to basically adhere the gasket to either the pan or the block. So the last thing I'll say this little round piece here, um, I'll try to post a picture on the video here so you can see. When you put the spring into the oil pump, you compress it with something like a quarter-inch drive extension or something like that. And this spring goes up from the bottom of the housing. There's a little slot where it just goes in, and it keeps this washer keeps the spring from popping out. And that's all there is to it. So hopefully that clears that up. I am going to now go ahead and clean up my oil pan, put the gasket on it, and get everything put back together. And we'll see what it sounds like after I get everything put back together. We'll get it started up and see if we can actually hear the oil pressure difference. Okay, so I've got the bike pretty much put back together now, far enough that I'm ready to give it a crank and see what it sounds like with the new oil pressure spring. I don't know if there's going to be any difference in sound or not, but let's give it a crank and see what happens. Here we go. Well, honestly, guys, I don't know if it's maybe wishful thinking or, all the effort that I put into it. I wanted to sound different, but to me, it does sound a little different. There's a little less ticking going on in the valve train. Maybe because the oil is getting up there a little stronger, a little more. And, so in the end, I think worth the effort. I will say that getting the spring, the clean speed spring is a good couple of millimeters longer as well, and it's stiffer. So getting that back into the orifice of the oil pump and getting that little washer back in there was not easy. I'm not going to lie. It took a lot of, basically I was laying under the bike thinking, you know what, eventually it's just going to go. But it was a lot of pushing the spring in, putting the washer up there, the spring popping back out or getting cockeyed or whatever. But I knew that eventually it would go in. The only other thing I'll say, when you're putting the oil pan back on, or the sump cover, whatever you want to call it, there are 2 or 3 screws that are longer than the rest, just a hair. But when you run them up into you should map it out, put them down, exactly the way you took them out. But if for some reason, like me, something happens, they get kicked by your dog, run them up into the pan first and see, you'll be able to get a fingernail through, in between the pan and the bolt head if you got the long one in the wrong spot. So that's just learn from my mistake there, right? So otherwise though, yeah, great improvement, I hope, for the bike. And yeah, and I'm super happy to have gotten that out of the way. Now I can ride the bike knowing that I don't have to keep it up at 8,000 RPMs to keep that oil flow going on, right? So I got a couple other things to do. My air filter is very dirty, so I'm going to go ahead and clean that up now and then go take it for a spin. But hey, that's it for the video. Thanks again for visiting the channel here. If you liked the video, please give me a great big thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and make sure you ring that notification bell so that you get notified when I put out any new content. Have a great rest of your day, and I hope to see you out on the trail somewhere.